So hello fellow Earthlings, this is Earthling 6455463728, and yes, if somebody is of a disadvantaged group, a minority group, they can be prejudiced to that group. I remember seeing a story about a guy who went to deposit a check for a lawsuit, a settlement that he got. And he said that the manager refused to take the check from him, thinking it was some kind of a fraud scheme, and called the cops on him because of his race, because he was black. The response of the company, the bank, was that it had nothing to do with race because the manager was also black. And I think that speaks to an idea, a false idea, that just because somebody is of the same disadvantaged group, it doesn't mean that they're going to be, okay with the other person. As a matter of fact, the fact that it was a manager, that somebody got so high up in the rankings, would suggest that they just accept the culture of the company that they're in, which is this is a U.S. case, and it doesn't matter in the developed world, and that's always going to be the case. But it doesn't even matter. I recently found that was it Costa Rica or Colombia, where somebody was doing blackface, and people didn't realize that, hey, this might be a problem. Up to like 2015, they were doing blackface. So yeah, I guess it doesn't even matter if it's a developed country or not. But people in Costa Rica, if I go back to that story, they would basically have the idea that, the person who wrote about the story, and they were telling her that she was too sensitive, and if you don't like it, just turn the channel. Well, it's kind of like if we had up, stories, signs that said no Jews, no blacks, no Mexicans, no whatever. Yeah, if you have a problem with the sign, don't look at it, right? Or I guess if there's a town that does not want people of a particular race in their town, then just don't go there. Because if you go there, you're going to have a problem. Well, obviously that doesn't work, and it doesn't work even if the person is of the same. If it's a woman discriminating against another woman, because she has absorbed the ideas that, everybody but her, because we never think of ourselves, everybody but her, who's a woman, is probably not going to work as hard, and maybe she doesn't want a woman on her team. But if you really look, for those who really are interested, minority cops who go on police forces, they aren't bastions protecting minorities. They can't be. Unless they want problems, they just have to go along with whatever is the norm. Even this cop who was convicted federally in the U.S. of shooting a guy in the back, that they had on video, that they could not convict him of a state crime. I think there was a hung jury twice. The federal government had to go in and he had to plead. And now he has 20 years. Even that cop, as far as I know, the second person on the scene, that was not very long after, according to the video, and could clearly seeing the guy dropping his taser next to the body in order to create his alibi that the guy was fighting for the taser. He didn't do anything. He didn't try to give the guy CPR or try to save the guy's life in any way. Both of them were like, oh well, just like, they came across a dead dog in the road, a dog that was dying. I'm surprised they didn't put a couple more bullets into it. But, yeah, that's too much probably. No, it isn't, because that's how life is. I can't believe that the guy saw the person running away from him and calmly shot the guy in the back and walked up to him and had everybody believing his story. and was so at ease with himself, even just after the shooting. He didn't seem in any way distraught or anything like that. But anyway, back to the point. Just because you are a member of that disadvantaged group, it doesn't mean that you are going to be supportive. And as I mentioned, primarily because you have to go with the culture of the place that you're in if you are going to end up being there for any period of time. Otherwise, you're going to come under a lot of scrutiny, and you're going to come under a lot of negative attitudes to you because you're different. And I don't mean because you are different, but because you're acting different. Because you are actually looking for the best interest of the people who are other people who are minorities or disadvantaged, like with respect to women, for example. And I mean, one would have thought, for example, with respect to Hillary Clinton, I'm sorry there's so many examples have to do with the US, but one would have thought with respect to Hillary Clinton that, a mountain of women would have come out in support of her, regardless. And that did not happen at all. It is really sad. And I mean, it kind of goes back to that thing with Bernie Sanders in the US. Maybe he did say that a woman couldn't win. The thing is, it doesn't sound good. And maybe people don't want to admit it to themselves. That's why they don't want to hear it. But the facts are the facts, right? And they don't care about our feelings. And one of the saddest things is that minorities and disadvantaged groups often have similar prejudiced ideas about other minorities and disadvantaged groups as the majority does about them. And one would hope or wish that people would say, like, if you're a black person, you might say, oh, gay people are also disadvantaged. Maybe we should try and look beyond what the normal narrative or bad narrative for gay people would be. Or if we look at Asian people and they might say, well, life is tough for us in so many respects. Maybe what they say about Latino people or black people or Arab Americans, maybe all those things aren't true. But no, not really. And why should they? We are all fed the same narratives through TV and through movies and through history of what other groups are. We know that a lot of that might be wrong with respect to our group because we know a lot about our group. But for whatever reason, well, it's not for whatever reason. The only reason that we might be a little bit woke about our particular group is because we physically know, we have experienced it. So other things that we have no experience with, we just take it hook, line, and sinker. And it is really unfortunate, but money and resources are really what changes minds. I mean, if we look at somebody like Bloomberg, for example, who's running in the US, I've seen a couple of pieces on him, like, YouTube videos about his past actions when he was mayor of New York, and they're not good. But because he's rich and he's wealthy, a lot of these things he's been able to get by because he can put his own money into a campaign. He doesn't need to depend on anybody, what other people think of him, and just keep putting out those ads to create a particular story about him. And it's the money and the resources that count, not the reality. So we shouldn't be so upset with minorities and disadvantaged groups because they're under the same pressures as we are. So why would they end up being different more than whatever intimate knowledge that they have about their particular group. They're going to be the same as anybody else. So, I guess that's what it is at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's money and resources. And you get money and resources a lot of the time by, this is the bottom line. It is not that people who have a lot of resources are going to be inherently not good people. That's not it at all. That I would put it into words. But let's look at it from a different point of view. When you're a regular guy in the street, you have the people above you giving their opinions about what you did, and people are policing you to an extent. If you skip a line, people are not going to take that. They're going to tell you, hey, go back to the back of the line, do this, do that, do the other. You're not going to have connections. You're not going to be able to get away with things. You don't have a lawyer to get you off a ticket or that or the other or something else. Whatever you do, it's going to come back and hit you. The higher you go in society, though, the fewer people are above you to put their 2 cents as to what you're doing, and the people that are below you are scared of you. And even if they weren't scared of you, when you get upset with people who are below you, you have the ability to negatively affect their lives. And as a result, whether it's firing them or demeaning them with people above them, just talking bad about them to people who respect you and not them, by virtue of the fact that you are above them. So at the end of the day, wealthier people are going to be more inclined to have less curtailments on the negative side of what they do. And that's just what it is, unfortunately. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. If you don't have a strong moral code already, by the time you become wealthy, you're probably not going to get one. And whatever you have is probably going to be consistently eroded by the fact that you're not going to be getting feedback for things that you do, and the fact that you're going to be able to get away with much more than anybody else. So there's that. And I guess that's the reason why people with money can always push these stories that aren't likely to be good stories, that all of us absorb. And I should do another video about the fact that happy people are not necessarily good people. I think that that's something else to be said about that. But anyway, guys, wish me lucks. You can like or unlike my video. You can comment as to why. You can subscribe if you like, or you could share. I appreciate it. Peace.